So showing vulnerability or expressing how you feel was seen as a weakness. My dad didn't want me to get into films. My mom was like, I'm disowning you. I don't want to fit in.
Yeah.
If anyone doesn't like something about you, don't change it.
Right.
If you
Yeah.
like it, keep it.
Yeah.
Maybe in politics, but in films I haven't. I haven't really pushed the envelope in. Can we negotiate? Can we? I'm trying to think. I don't see why women cannot come together and speak up for women who are going through any kind of abuse, I don't think I've said this anywhere else, but I'm just sharing it. That's
Wow.
exactly how it happened. I feel you.
There's something so magnetic about a good challenge. It awakens a part of me that craves growth, discovery, resilience. Everyone who knows me knows I can't sit around for too long without doing anything. I love to put myself in uncomfortable situations to just see who I become. I think the word I'm looking for is reinvent. To be complacent and get too comfortable just terrifies me, and I hope to keep evolving to just see how far I can go. In that process, I've become some version of myself that I thought I could never be. Well, I'm all about flipping the narrative. My guest today on Flip the Script with Shubhra is synonymous with reinventing herself. She's a multi-hyphenate, an actor, producer, politician. She's incredibly smart, talented, beautiful, and so self-assured. She's never shied away from using her voice for the right reason, be it mental health awareness, online toxicity, actually everything under the sun. She's created her own rule book, and I love that about her. Y'all should know I've waited for so long to have her on my podcast, and I'm so excited that I have her here. Without further ado, I would like to introduce you to the super talented Ramya Spandana.
Hi, thank you.
Hi, I'm so excited. And before I get into this, I want to just tell you that I feel like we've met at events and gatherings, but like our conversations have been very brief, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like by the end of this podcast, I'm going to get to know you better. And that's something that I've actually wanted to do. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Shubhra. The thing is, I'm very reticent, as a person. I don't express very freely because I was raised by a single mother, and she always taught me to be, strong, independent, resilient. So showing vulnerability or expressing how you feel was seen as a weakness. And that is something, of course, I'm changing now, and I'm with you. So I think that's why I took that long to say yes.
Right.
Because it's not one of those movie interviews I'm giving, This
Right.
is like us sitting and getting to know each other.
Right.
And I'm not very good at expressing myself. So that's why it took me that long.
No
but I'm
problem.
very happy to be here today.
Yeah, but did you see how persistent I was?
Yeah.
I came back. I was like, I'm resilient too.
I was like, she's
Yeah.
going to give up at
Yeah.
some point, but she didn't give up.
No, I wasn't
So I
going to.
was
It's
like-
only because I was like, this is Flip the Script, and for me it was so important to have people who actually
yeah.
endorse that narrative.
Yeah.
And you're someone I've watched just the way you've done it, and I'm just so enamored by everything you do. So I was like, I want to have you here. I want to get to know more of you.
To be really, really honest, I was like, okay, maybe I'm going to miss this one again.
I would have cried, sat in the corner and cried.
and then I saw you yesterday at the
Yeah.
salon. I was like, no, I should just go Divya, just do this.
Yeah.
So I was like, it was more about me.
Right.
Nothing to do with you.
How
But I like
sweet.
what you're doing. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So is that how you call yourself? Do you say Divya?
Yeah, Divya.
Okay.
Yeah, like people who are close to me, who know me from before I joined the films, they all call me either Spandana or Divya.
Okay.
And it's only the ones who I know after I became an actress who call me Ramya.
Ramya. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're okay if I call you Divya or Ramya, right?
Anything.
Okay.
I have so many names. I'm like, you call me anything. You want.
Anything. I love that. How were you like a child? Like when you were a child?
I think so. I went to boarding when I was 4, and like I said, I was raised by a single parent, so it was just my mom and me. And she was also a working mother, so I think it was easier for her to put me in boarding. When I first went to boarding, I think I was very vulnerable, because you're away from your mother and you're just 4 years old, you're in a new environment. And yeah, I think as a child I was very quiet. My mom's like, she'd take me out and I wouldn't ask for anything, and I was very quiet, I was very coy, I wouldn't speak much.
Okay.
I mean, complete opposite of who I've become.
Wow. So you spoke about living in Ooty. Yeah, that was like your young formative years. That's not easy. But did you feel like your childhood was like a little different because one, you were very positive about how your mother raised you, and at that time, I feel like single parenting was very difficult, right? But you've spoke about it that so positively, from the beginning itself.
Yeah.
But growing up, did you feel like your childhood was a little different from the rest of them?
Yeah, of course. When I went to boarding at 4, I think I was the only child who, didn't have a father. Everyone else around me had both parents. And I only realized, like, when you stand up in class and you introduce yourself to everyone, and they're like, what's your name? What's your mother's name? What's your father's name? And I was like, hi, my name is Divya Spandana. My mother's name is Ranjita. And I didn't have to say, who my father is. And so that's when I think I was looked at very differently. And that's when I realized that, oh, I don't have a father, because I don't think my mother ever made me feel the void, or, because she was both. I mean, she was everything for me. So yeah, and then for holidays, the parents would come, pick them up. So it was only in school that I started to realize that, oh, I have only like a single parent, and that's that. And also I don't have a surname. And whether it was your passport or whether it was, filling up the form for exams, it became such a hassle, because you had to fill in father's name. And I think back then there wasn't even the option of mother's name. It was always father's name and surname. And I'm like, I don't have a surname. So for the longest time, even though my name is Divya Spandana, I would put Spandana as family name or surname.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's not a big deal.
Yeah,
it's just that, you just feel like you don't fit in and you're different, and and so you try harder to fit in and to be accepted, which I stopped when I became an adult.
Right.
But every now and then I think you start to seek validation and acceptance, because you're actually not different, but because everyone else is similar or alike, you stand out and you seem like you're different. But
Right.
actually we're not. It's just these things that are conceived by society that makes one different from the other, but we're not.
Right, but I'm sure
But
that
yeah.
has influenced who you are today, right? In a large way. Like, I'm sure when you
Yeah.
retrospect, you're like, okay, I'm glad that happened. It's
Yeah.
made you who you are today.
It's made me a lot more empathetic, more compassionate, and I'm always like lending my voice for like minorities, for people who are seen as misfits, or people who are not accepted. My heart naturally goes towards
Gravitates
them,
towards them.
Yeah.
So, kudos to you for
I'm
that.
very happy about that.
Yeah, I love
don't want
that.
to fit in.
Yeah, that's so passe.
Yeah, who wants to conform to these,
Exactly.
Yeah, rigid, and that keeps changing, so then you'll have to be at their mercy and constantly trying to please them, and it can be exhausting.
Yeah.
It's important to retain your sense of self, your sense of agency, and just be who you are.
So
less
true. Yeah.
less exhausting, less anxiety.
100%.
Yeah.
I keep saying that about myself too, that I felt like I had that epiphany at 23, because I'm like a people pleaser, still am borderline people pleaser. Do I like that part of me entirely? Not really, but there's like, it's also, because of that, I'm always sensitive about how the other person feels.
And you're always trying to make them feel better.
Yeah. So which
You
is
want
nice,
them,
but sometimes it's just so exhausting. You're
Yeah.
like, man,
Yeah.
So, but like, I feel like at 23, 24, I was like, okay, this is who I am, and this is, like, I'm not a bad person. My intentions are in the right place, So I think we can navigate around that. So like, that's so important. Otherwise,
Intent is everything.
exactly. I
Yeah.
think it comes down to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little birdie told me about how you were quite a bit of an actor back in school also, that you used to act, direct, win Best Actress also. You think that's when like the acting bug seeped in? And
I'm actually grateful that we had theatre in school, because I feel like as a child, when you don't have an understanding of what is happening to you or around you, there are ways for you to express that. And I think theatre was a way where I could step into different characters and sort of, express myself. So I'm very grateful. But the first play that I did, I played this king who would just sleep throughout the play, and all I had to do was snore. But yeah, so I did, that was my first play. And then I went on to do several. I was in the theatre group in
Okay.
school, and I quite liked that. And yeah, so I did, yeah.
So you think that was your plan A, like then you knew? No.
No, because see, we were in boarding school, right? We never grew up watching movies.
Okay.
And my mum, I don't remember having a TV at home, I think until I was like I don't remember, maybe I was 9, 10 or something.
Okay.
And a film that I watched from start to finish as a child was Chinnari Mutta. It's
Okay.
a Kannada film. And there was a 3D film that came out. I don't know if you watched it. I think it was called Kutti Chetan or something like that.
No.
We went
Okay.
to the theatre and watched it with 3D glasses. And then in school, of course, we weren't allowed to watch TV. The only time we were allowed to watch TV was on August 15th. And
Okay.
every year on August 15th, the one film that played consecutively for all years was Roja.
Every year.
Yeah. So I didn't grow up watching movies. So I didn't aspire to be an actress
Okay.
in school. But when Aishwarya Rai and Sushmita Sen won Miss Universe and Miss World, that's when I think most of us was like, oh, I want to be a model,
Yeah.
I want to be Miss World.
Okay.
But never an actress.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, it was that I want to be Miss Universe. When I saw them, I was like, I have to
Correct.
go that path. Okay.
But little did I know that you need to have like a certain height and there were restrictions. But I happily through my I think school, I was like, I'm going to be Miss World.
Oh, you did that?
Yeah.
So, but when did the epiphany happen for like, okay, I'm going to be like a movie star?
Movie star, I don't know. I never thought that I would do films or I would become a movie star. No.
Okay.
I used to sign autographs in school. I used to tell everyone I'm going to be famous, which is what my friends told me later, by the way.
Okay.
Because I don't have any recollection of this, but it sounds like me.
Yeah.
I used to sign autographs saying, I'm going to be famous, you better keep it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I knew that I was going to have I'm going to make something out of my life, but I
Okay.
didn't know what.
So you knew
Yeah.
it was not going to be like an ordinary life. I think
No.
that was when, yeah.
Yeah. I
That's
was also very
interesting.
popular in school because I was the only one from Bangalore. And, Bangalore was in those days like very fashion forward and,
Correct.
all the styles would be first introduced in Bangalore.
Yeah.
So I'd go back to a school and I'd be wearing the most trendiest outfits.
Okay.
So I was very popular. So people kind of I think, made me feel like I was special and I was pretty and attractive. So I was
Nice.
like, I'm going to do something with my life.
Yeah.
I think that's where it started.
That
from.
validation is so important at that age, right? Like for
Yeah.
me, that validation was back home. Anything, oh my God, you're amazing. So like I feel like that, it didn't make me arrogant, but it just made me like, hey, I'm doing something right, and that really helps, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
I met your mom.
Yeah.
She raised you well. I hope she's
Oh,
very
thank
proud.
you, thank you. So sweet. You also spoken about what an important role your father has played.
Yeah.
Right? Like you've been very open about it. Is there
Yeah.
something that he's told you that still like echoes in your head in life and that you use?
My father was an example. Like he never told me, live life this way and do things like a certain way. But I observed him and I learned so much from him. But he would never be the kind who would dictate terms or tell you how to live your life.
Okay.
Or even give you unsolicited advice. He was not that kind of a person.
Okay.
Very opposite to my mother.
Okay.
My father always let me make my mistakes, learn from it. But he was always there for me, to cry on his shoulder, to tell him whatever. And he would tell me, you always go emotionally overboard, like with everything.
Okay.
But what I observed about him and which I like and which made him so likable is that when people came to him for help or anything, he would never make promises and say, I'm going to do it, or, he would do it, but he would never say it,
Okay.
So
Never made the person feel like he did a favor or something.
Never.
I love that. Yeah.
Or the fact that he would make promises and then not deliver.
Right, yeah.
So he would always listen to them and he'd be like, okay, and then he would get,
It
he
done.
would help them out, which I thought was really nice because, and he always taught me that it's a Kannada saying, what the right hand does, the left hand should
yeah,
know.
yeah.
And he was very magnanimous as a person. He was very generous. It was only after he passed away I realized that he'd helped so many people. So I carry that with me. And my mom was also like that. Most of my birthdays were spent at orphanages, and she always gave a lot.
Yeah.
So I saw even if she like had $100, she'd give away the $100. So I think from both of them, I learned how to not really hoard or hold on to. I'm not very materialistic. You know, I give away freely. I don't think too much about
So you
it.
get that generosity from that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'm not very, and then I think it's also kind of like spread into like different aspects of my life. I don't get attached to things very easily. Also,
Such a gift.
yeah,
That is a gift.
yeah. But I think that makes you less. I mean, you suffer less. You're also a lot freer.
Yeah.
You know.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the endeavor. I'm far from that, but yeah.
Get there.
Get there, yes. You walked into the industry when you were about 20.
Yeah.
How was that like? That's young,
Yeah.
especially at that time, right? Like now
Yeah.
you see, okay, girls who are 19, 20 getting in. The
Yeah.
exposure was different then.
Yeah.
How was it then?
My dad didn't want me to get into films. My mom was like, I'm disowning you. What is this films? Where? You go to school, you study, whatever. And my dad had got me admission at St. Joseph's Commerce College. And the thing is, back then, I think ICSE changed the syllabus a little bit. So 9th and 10th, I didn't take mathematics, I took home science. And here I've taken BCom, and you
Okay.
need maths. So I didn't attend any of the accountancy classes.
Okay.
So, I mean, I had a paper yet to do, and I was hating college. And then I got the opportunity to work in Apu, which I auditioned for, but it went to Rakshita. And then the following year, they came back to me and they were like, we want you to do the film with Apu again. And I'm like, I'm not going to audition. They're like, no, you don't have to audition. Catch me saying that, like someone else saying that to me, you don't
Lovely, yeah.
audition. I was like,
Guts,
you already have
nice.
my photos. If you want to take me, I'm not going through that
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
Because I was really upset, right?
Okay.
Because imagine someone saying no to you and you just feel like, oh my
Yeah.
God, in school everybody thought I was different
you're
and I'm
like-
going to make something.
You're like diva signing autographs already.
Yeah.
How dare they?
Yeah,
right?
and my first film, they're like, no,
Yeah.
you're not smiling properly. That's what Puri Jagannath had said.
Okay.
Then I went and got my teeth done. But I'm telling you, if anyone doesn't like something about you, don't change it.
Right.
If you
Yeah.
like it, keep it.
Yeah.
But I had two, you know how like Preeti Zinta had teeth
This
in the
little-
first
this-
film? Like
those
those
fangs.
vampire,
Huh.
those fangs. I had those. And because of that, I was very shy. I wouldn't smile. So Puri Jagannath, the director, was like, I mean, as a heroine, all you want to do is smile and, toss her hair and everything. And she's not able to smile. How can we use her? And until then, I used to be conscious, but I didn't think it was such a big deal.
Okay. Okay.
But I'm glad I went and got my teeth done. Or maybe I should have learned to laugh even with those fangs, like freely. But anyway.
Either ways.
So I got that done, and then, yeah. And then I did Abhi.
Okay.
But it was very, very. See, for me, I came from very privileged background. Like my father met multiple people before he could say, okay, she's in good hands and she can go ahead and do the film. It was obviously the Rajkumar production. It was their family, and my father obviously knew them. And then he got Amrish uncle involved. He got Vishnuvardhan uncle involved. He got Jaggesh involved, and everybody was there saying, no, she's in safe hands. Let her do films.
Okay,
So
okay.
that's how it happened. Otherwise, my father was like nothing doing.
Okay.
So I didn't go through any of the struggles except, of course, being said no to for my first film.
Right.
Or let's say changing, my teeth or something like that.
Right.
But it wasn't a struggle.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't go knocking on doors
Right.
and doing...
That drill wasn't a part of the process.
Wasn't. So
Fair.
I consider myself very lucky because
Yeah.
my dad was there and he was so protective.
Yeah.
And also that my first production was the Dr. Rajkumar family's
Yeah,
production, right?
yeah.
They were all so nice to me, and Puneet was an amazing co-star, so I got really lucky. Yeah.
But some also say you're very intimidating because you're educated, opinionated, very
Yeah.
like self-assured, all qualities like I love about you. So, but at any point, did you feel like isolated in the industry?
Of course. Start with, I didn't understand the roles I was playing with. I had a problem with all of that because I'm educated, independent, financially independent, and I'm opinionated. And all the roles I played were complete opposite of that. Homely next door girl, just waiting for the hero to, to rescue her. And I had a problem. So I was in a dilemma constantly,
Right.
in a conflict, so to say, right? Because you want to be satisfied with your work. You want to be able to leave a legacy or a mark where women look up to you, and you want to change how women are perceived in cinema and off it, right?
Obviously,
So I would question my directors, but why should I slit my wrist if the hero said no to me? My life goes on. He's like, madam, we agree with you, but this is the script. Please stick to it.
Wow.
So then what do I focus on, right? My costumes.
Yeah.
So then I would make the most amazing salwar kameezes, jewelry, focus on that.
So when you got into the industry, they gave you like a stage name.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there was an identity crisis at that time, or you didn't just take that
With
seriously?
the new name, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, with the new name. Yeah.
So, Parvatama, right?
Huh.
Dr. Rajkumar's wife, and I admire that lady. She, whoever she introduced in the film, she would change their name. So, one day I remember I was sitting, I was getting my makeup done, and she walked up to me and she said, Ivatinda nin hesru Ramya. So, she apparently used to. There's an astrologer, or a
Okay.
numerologist, I'm not sure. And they said apparently that all the heroines whose names begin with R are very lucky or something.
Okay.
So she thought of a name with R and it was Ramya. So I'm like thinking, maybe there are other names we can think of with R, but she just walked away. And so it took me a while to kind of get used to it.
Right.
But I do think that Ramya did turn out to be lucky for me. I don't know, it could be coincidence also, but
Yeah.
you know. Ramya worked out well for me, but no, I didn't face like an identity crisis because I don't think I ever grew up identifying myself with anything as such, which I think worked for me in the long run. I can have many names, I can don many hats, I can be wherever, but
I love that. It's that go with the flow attitude.
Yeah.
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 You're just a cool girl, basically.
thank you, woman now.
Yeah. Girl always in my
head.
Yeah. I feel like there is a little bit of stigma, and I feel like that narrative is changing. But what would you tell like educated women who want to enter
Yeah.
the industry, but like are still scared to do so?
Why are you scared? That's the first question.
Right.
Secondly, please go ahead. I
Right.
think the industry's changed. I think women have it a lot more easier. We still have a long way to go in terms of pay and lots of other things, but I would say give it a shot.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Why not? I mean, yeah, most parents would want you to, in the past, finish your graduation because this field is very iffy. You don't know if things
Flaky,
work.
exactly, yeah.
So you still have your graduation
Backup.
as a backup, and you can figure something else.
Right.
But now I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because now you can do so many things and make a career out of it.
Exactly.
You know?
It's a good time. It's a
Yeah.
good time to be in the business.
Yeah.
Actually.
And which is actually thanks to a lot of women who made it easier for a lot of us.
So true.
And you're
Yeah.
making it easier for, and I am.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. From the time of your debut, everyone knows that like the doors open and how the opportunities were amazing, which is exciting, and like it's not the same for everyone like that.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's a door that's yet to open for you? And like you'd like to explore that after so many years.
Yeah, I think a really good role that I actually want to do, because I think my entire career I just had to choose the best from what was there, right? And ironically, the film industry is quite superstitious. If you do a film and if your first film does really well, then there's no stopping you.
Yeah.
But you can be very talented, you can be very good looking, and you can be somebody's child or whatever, but if your first film doesn't do well, there are no takers.
So true.
Because in Kannada my first film did well and my second film did better than my first, so then there was no stopping me.
Right.
But in Telugu I did the remake of Abhi in Telugu, and that was a flop, so that's it.
That dosha.
Yeah, there was no opportunity for me in Telugu.
Yeah.
It doesn't take away, I'm the same person. I'm just as talented as I'm in Kannada
Right.
as I would be in Telugu.
It's just that superstition. It's
Just
still the
didn't.
case today.
It's still the case today.
Yeah.
And it happened to Vidya Balan and so many actresses, right?
Exactly.
And then Tamil, I was fairly decent, but yeah. So yeah. But today I really want to do something. See, back then I was just working and choosing the best options that were there. And people wrote films for me. Which is not the case now. When I came back and I started listening to scripts, I'm like, I've done this 20 years ago. Why would I want to do it now? So maybe I think I'm looking forward to doing something that I haven't done and something that I really resonate with. So
Damn, I hope you
Yeah.
get that. Because the
Yeah.
joy in the process would be so different, right? Like,
Yeah.
the learning and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Like you said in the beginning of your podcast about something so magnetic about challenges, right?
yeah.
That I have not had. Maybe in politics, but in films I haven't. I haven't really pushed the envelope in
Right.
when it comes to films, yeah.
I hope you're listening. Like, you need to give that to her. Because I honestly think today is a very good time for films. Like, look at them
Yeah.
doing like different things and
Age
stuff.
is no bar, marriage is
Yeah,
no bar.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you look the way you look, so
No, thank
yeah.
you. It takes a
nothing
lot
else.
of effort.
Yeah, I'm sure. Nothing comes
Yeah.
easy. So you met my mother when you entered. So she plays a big part in who I am. She's my biggest cheerleader. She's 65 and she's the biggest hustler I know. She's like a wedding planner. And we keep telling her, Ma, take it easy. We've all done well. My father also says that, take it easy. You don't have to keep working to make money like this.
Yeah.
And she tells us how if I stop working, I'm going to start aging. So don't stop me from working. And that's amazing. And
That's
yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we're like, okay, you do it for yourself, for your joy. And she's the one who's to always say, Chubby, it doesn't matter who you get married to, which family you get married to, but financial independence and stability is everything. You'll realize that later there's a certain sense of confidence and stability you have. My greatest lesson. And I
Yeah.
love that. Today, more I know the importance of that, and I kind of advocate that to young girls, saying,
Yeah.
just work, make that money, whatever it might be, right?
Yeah.
You started earning very early on.
Yeah.
Was there like an experience or lesson in your life where you're like, you know what, I want to be financially stable, and that's really important for me?
Actually the opposite happened to me because my father didn't want me to do films because he wanted to take care of me.
Huh.
He had that attitude towards me. He was very protective and was like, why do you need to earn? Or, I am
Right.
there, I'm going to take care of you. But I wanted to be financially independent. Like, I needed to be independent. Like,
Right.
I had to take care of myself. It's a different story that my father continued to take care of me even though I was earning money. But for me, that was very important. And I learned that very early in my life, because life is so... I mean, at that time, I didn't do it because I knew that life is ever changing and it's so unpredictable and anything can happen, which I learned only after I lost my father. But back then, for me, it was just that I had seen my mom struggle and I had seen my father take care of me. And I'm like, why should either of them be responsible for me after a certain age? I should fend for myself. My dad and my mom should take it easy. Because I'm an adult now and I should take care of myself. That was what was on my mind when I started doing films. But I'm so glad because when I lost my father, everything changed for me. And I think today what's taking me through relationships or whether I have work or don't have work is the fact that because I've learned to be independent, I can navigate any situation in life.
Yeah.
And I don't have any dependency on anyone. And whatever situation comes and goes, I know that I can stand on my 2 feet and I can take care of myself.
And that's so comforting,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, just to
And so
have that.
freeing.
Freeing, exactly. Yeah.
Otherwise, you can just get entangled in things that you're not happy with, and then you'll suffer. And then, I think,
You can spiral in that process. Yeah.
I think that freedom
Exactly.
that
It's so
you can get
important.
up and do whatever you want at
Yeah.
any given situation at any time is so freeing.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I've also seen how, not everyone's like that, but I've seen how people are in, like, for the lack of a better word, like a shitty relationship, or just because they don't
Yeah.
have that thing. And I feel so bad. And that's
Yeah.
why I'm like, whenever I meet like younger girls, I'm like,
Yeah.
listen, just work,
Yeah.
make that money. Like,
Yeah.
don't be in a compromised situation
Yeah.
just because of that. Yeah.
Because you have one life.
Exactly.
And if we can do it, so can you. Like,
Yeah.
everyone can do it.
I mean, the reason I asked this question is only because of that. I'm like, you know what, I
Yeah.
want, like, even if they're two girls inspired after this to go, like, you know what, I
I
want to
hope
do
so.
this, I'm like, please do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But what made you flip the script from this super stardom to Parliament? Like, wow.
Oh God! Actually, I didn't flip the script there. It was the Congress party that flipped the script for me. And I was at the peak of my career.
Yes.
And I think I was also getting a bit saturated, a little bored because I was getting the same kind of role. So then my dad was like, "No politics. It's not our cup of tea." But then for some reason, of all the names that were submitted, Rahul Gandhi ji, he don't know why, but he mentioned, my name to contest in the elections. And that came as a surprise to me because I was in Jaipur with my friend Anjana. We, the brand Wrong. So she started it, and she and I were really good friends. We're still good friends, and I had started a brand called Spandana. I mean,
Okay.
people are doing it today. This was way back in 2013. I started my own brand called Spandana, which later became Imara.
Okay.
And it was about Indian clothing because I was known to
Yeah.
be fashionable and all of that, right? So I was like, why not build on that? So we were in Jaipur, and Siddaramaiah sir was the CM, and he called me and he's like, tomorrow's the last date for filing nomination. You have to come to Mandya. And I'm like, you have to speak to my father because I don't even know what you're talking about. So then I think he spoke with my father, and then my father called me and he was like, you know what, I think we'll do it. Winning or losing is irrespective, but since they're giving us the opportunity, let's just do it. We'll see how it goes. So that's how it happened. That's the exact story. I don't think I've said this anywhere else, but I'm just sharing it.
Oh,
That's
wow.
exactly how it happened.
And obviously, your father was like, this is a smart thinking girl. Like, he must have had that foresight, and he's like, she'll do well there.
I don't think we thought that far. We were just like, because they called me a day before the last day for filing nomination, right? So we had no clue where this was heading, and this was also a by-election. So I only had 10 months. So the rule is like, if you have more than 6 months, you can't leave the seat vacant. You need a representative. So you have to contest the election. So that's why.
That is an interesting story. Like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Looking back, what do you think was like tougher, a flop film or a political troll war?
I think both really affected me when I was younger. Like, if my film didn't do well, I don't think I have that many flops. I'm very happy about that. But I would be really sad.
Okay, yeah.
And if people like misunderstood me, or if people trolled me for something, I would like really cry.
Okay.
Okay, like really cry. But now I'm just like, you know what? You're not really in control of these things, and
yeah.
you're not the doer, or like, so I'm now unaffected.
Okay,
Yeah, but both affected me.
At that point,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
You headed the Congress's digital face when like politics was going viral.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. What was the pressures that came with that?
I am this actress from Karnataka who lived in like my little bubble, and I did politics for a very, very short period, and the whole time I was just grieving because I'd lost my father. But at the same time, it's also a period in my life where I think I found myself, and the people of Mandya were so nice, so compassionate. So I'm grateful for that period. But going to Delhi was a different ball game, right? It's very different. The environment is different. The people, I think, are more agenda driven, and they only want information from you. You're in a very unsettling environment, and it's not easy to trust people.
Yeah.
And here you're surrounded by, friends and family and people who you can trust.
Just a little mollycoddling, all of that.
Yeah. And suddenly you're thrust in like Delhi,
Yeah.
and it was very difficult to navigate.
Yeah.
And luckily for me, I had the support of a few people, so which kind of, I survived 3 years. I don't know how.
That's a long period.
Yeah, it was very difficult. And especially social media, that was a time when everybody had, like, data was very, very cheap, and everyone was having smartphones. So you had people sitting in, like, wherever, right?
Yeah.
And just saying things that they wanted. Now I think people want to leave social media,
Right.
but then people
Wanted
were
to
all
be on
coming.
it, right,
so you had
right.
different opinions and different people just
Right.
saying things to you. It was horrible. But I had done Vipassana before I got.
You've done Vipassana?
Like 3 times.
I'm so impressed because that's on my to-do.
You haven't?
I haven't.
I think you're a good candidate for Vipassana.
I think I should do that because I'm
Yeah.
such a busybody. I feel like I kind of need it. I want to.
Yeah.
Thrice?
Thrice.
Like the 10-day.
Yeah. Once
Wow.
in Dharamshala and twice in Burma. So I think having that also helped me sort of cope with what was happening to me. It was still very difficult. but that kind of helped me. It gave me strength, it gave me courage. It also made me realize that the person who's saying all those things about me is actually going through a rough time themselves, right? And it helped me have empathy for them.
Exactly.
I didn't hate them. I
Yeah.
didn't like
Yeah.
whatever.
Because if you do, you can get very cynical in the process also, right?
Right.
Like, but that perspective shift of,
Yeah.
that person's going through something just makes
Yeah.
it better for yourself also,
Yeah.
for starters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's when people really get angry, right? When you're
Yeah.
hurt, you're sad, you have pain.
Yeah.
That's when you say things
that
like that.
aggression comes from there, yeah.
So
Wow,
yeah.
I love that you've done Vipassana. My best friend who you met yesterday, right, Kritika, she just did her
Yeah.
Vipassana course and she came. Loved it, just
Yeah?
like loved it. She was anyway, I mean, we're very spiritual, we love yoga, we love our meditation and stuff. So when she did it, she was like she was telling
You
me
have
about
to do it,
whatever
Shubhra.
happened, and I have to do it. I must do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going. Yeah, you've inspired me to do that.
And Kritika.
Yeah, and Kritika,
Yeah.
obviously. That bird
See,
drop.
this is a little people pleaser, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah.
So I feel you. But
Shit.
yes.
Yeah.
But it's okay. Your intent
I love
is
it.
to.
Yeah.
you know,
Everyone should be
so-
happy.
Yeah.
Like everyone should be happy.
I know
yeah.
Kritika's happy, but
Yeah,
let
yeah,
the girls.
Oh my god, I don't feel like I felt so personally attacked. I love it.
Seen.
No, I love it. I love
Not
it.
attacked,
Yeah,
seen.
seen. True. Okay, coming back to politics, one more. That bird dropping tweet.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I wouldn't say it today.
You wouldn't say it
That's
today.
your question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to see humor in it because I don't take myself seriously.
Yeah.
I can be self-deprecating.
Yeah.
And I think one needs to be allowed to be criticized, to be made fun of. And I was kind of like using that kind of humor, but it didn't go well with people, and I get that, right? Because when you're in a society, I think not hurting. Also, I think that people have become extra sensitive, but it's okay.
Yeah.
You should respect other people's feelings as well. So yeah, I don't think I would.
You wouldn't do it
No.
today. Okay, fair. Was there a point where you felt like your personal view conflicted with a political ideology, and how did you
No.
navigate that thin line?
No, never. I think.
Wow, never? That's amazing.
No, I think because I am someone who likes to live and let live, and I'm very liberal. I don't judge. I don't look at caste, color, creed, none of that. And I'm also for women's rights and equality and things like that. And I think those are the values of the Congress party. So I don't think I've ever differed with them. I mean, I may have had some differences in the workings or how things are done,
Which is normal,
but not
yeah.
ideologically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. You speak a lot about mental health awareness.
Yeah.
I love that about you. And you also spoke about how you were depressed after your dad passed away.
Yeah.
I mean, that honesty and vulnerability really is struck a chord. How did you survive that space, and what are today when you hit rock bottom? What are your
Yeah.
tools to bounce back?
I don't think I can hit rock bottom anymore because I perceive things differently today. So I don't think I will be in that space again. But I think that was a very difficult time, and I'm grateful for that experience because it taught me so much about me. It taught me so much about the world we live in and the way I perceive things today. So I think it made me how do I put this? I'm just filled with a lot of gratitude for all the lessons and for all the experiences. But yeah, at that moment, my world came crashing down, and and my father was everything to me. And like I said, I didn't have too many friends, and I relied on my father for a lot of things, even though I thought I was independent and everything. I think life just opened itself to me. Till then, I don't think I was really living. It was only after that life happened. Yeah, and I think in life, no matter how much fame or how much money you earn, I think the experiences you have cannot come close to that, because I think when you're like 60, 70 and you look back, it's who you are as a person, the experiences you had, the wisdom you gained, that actually is more fulfilling than all of that. All of it contributes, of course.
Right.
Losing it, having it, being in the midst of the chaos and then stepping back and suddenly feeling irrelevant, or watching life go by when you're actually in the midst of it. So I think all of it helps you evolve as a person. But I think if you don't learn from that and if you don't experience that, I don't think you've really lived.
Yeah. Like I say, if everything is hunky-dory, there's nothing you're learning, right?
That's
like
true.
you just have to... Tough to like understand that when you're going through that.
Correct.
But like in retrospect, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, good, you broke a little bit, you learned something.
Yeah.
Like, but when you're spiraling today, do you have like tools? Like for me, it's like music and dancing or watching a podcast. Like instant... Like I know I'm going down that rabbit hole of feeling like sad or like those unnecessary emotions. Do you have like your little tools to like?
Yeah, I think Vipassana really helped me. And now I think I like to be by myself. I like spending time with my dogs. I think their energy can be very positive. I'm also someone who doesn't like to address what I'm going through. Yeah.
Very different then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll keep it off. Like I don't express, like I told you in the beginning, I'm not very good at expressing. I don't really allow my body to feel. I do take therapy and I speak to her, and she pointed out to me that, at a very young age, I shut down. And that's my coping mechanism. Instead of going into a nervous breakdown or a flight or fight mode, my body and my mind just shuts down. So I think my coping mechanism would be just being by myself, maybe watching TV, being with my dogs, or maybe reading, is what works for me. I don't think sharing or going out or doing things like that is, again, putting it off.
Okay.
Is distracting myself.
Right. Okay.
Whereas when I sit with my thoughts and I think about it, I think that's how I get over it.
Okay, so you're comfortable being that. Okay.
Yeah.
For me, it's exactly the opposite. For me, I
Because
have to like I'm very expressive.
Huh.
Like if I'm sad, like they'll know I'm sad.
Aw.
If, like it's that, like, and it just works for me. I've tried I'm sad, I'm going to keep quiet. Oh my
No.
God, I've crashed and how. So I'm like, okay, and my friends know she's sad, she's happy. I'll tell. Like,
Yeah.
I'm very happy today, and like I have to romanticize that moment
Yeah.
and stuff. If I'm not doing that, they're like, something is off. It shows.
Are you the
Yeah.
only child?
No, I have a sibling.
No.
Everyone asks me that when I say this.
So I think you grew up in an environment where you had both the parents and you had a sibling.
Yeah.
So sharing probably came easy to you. I don't want to
Exactly.
assume.
Very
because,
cushioned, super cushioned,
Because
yeah.
some families, you have a big family and yet people have not expressed. So I
Yeah.
didn't want to assume that.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, like I said, my mom always taught me to deal with things myself. And then after my mom, it was my father, right? It was just my dad and me. And I expressed very freely with him. But then at the same time, I got into the film industry where you can't really trust anyone, right? So I went back to dealing with things
Right.
myself. And I've
Interesting.
carried that forward in my life today.
Okay,
So I
okay.
don't necessarily, not because I don't trust, it's just because that's how I cope,
Cope,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
And like my partner, he's like, you don't allow people to love you, you don't share like what's going on, and I'm like, because that's not me, so they're like, how do we get to know you then? I'm like,
I'm
this
a
is me.
mystery. Yeah,
But this
yes.
is just me. I don't believe, because
Wow.
I was taught that it's a sign of weakness, right? To tell people how you think or how you feel or what's on your mind even. It's a sign of weakness. You are supposed to keep everything to yourself.
Yeah.
But things are changing now. Yeah.
That's nice. Thank you for sharing. I love that. Kudos to you for standing up for women who've been targeted with this. They become like the soft target for this very, very negative narrative.
Yeah.
And I love your perspective. You were like, why target only us?
Yeah.
Right? You asked
Yeah.
that. Why was it so important for you to take that stand? Like, what was like the bigger purpose?
See, because I think we live in an environment where all of us want to be accepted, we want to fit in, and we don't want to say anything that will ruffle feathers or, get the trolls on our backs, right? So we prefer to ignore or keep quiet and maybe share with friends and say, listen, I think it's really sad what they're doing or whatever, but we won't be vocal about it, right? And I'm like, we can't keep quiet anymore because it's happening to her and she's one of us and it's happened to us. And I am very grateful that when I was badly trolled and things like that, there were a few who stood up for me, right? And I'm glad they did, because now today I have the strength and courage to stand up for someone else. Had nobody stood up for me, I don't know if I would have continued to speak up for myself, or maybe I would have just succumbed and I would have just been quiet. But because there were those few misfits who probably decided to stand up for me, today I am like, we need to speak up for each other.
Amazing.
We have to, especially, recently the wife of the person who passed away in the terrorist attack, and she was trolled just for saying, we shouldn't target a certain religion or people who follow that faith. She was trolled so badly, and I'm like, she's a woman. I don't see why women cannot come together and speak up for women who are going through any kind of abuse. It's women, when we don't come together, that we are seen as weak. But the minute we all stand united, nobody can say or do anything.
Exactly.
But we're scared because that's how we're raised.
And also we're scared of the repercussions, what we'll face and everything. Because sometimes you can speak and you get so much flack for that, right? I'm guilty of that. There have been times where I feel strongly about something and I'm like, you know what, I want to say something and dismiss that, but I'm like, what will they say, what will they think?
But this is how they shut you up, this is how they control you.
That's why people like you, when you do that, I'm like, that's amazing. You should muster that courage, and so what? It's okay.
And women should
100%, because the strength in that is something else.
Something else. And because if women come together, women start having positions of power. Right. Whether it's corporates or whether it's, say for example, an actor has said something and the endorsements have to be withdrawn. If you have women at these positions of power, you think they would succumb to it?
Exactly.
They wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's men who are in these positions of power. It's men who are taking the highest positions of power in politics, whether it's in films, whether it's in corporations. But if we had women in these positions, I think it would be very different.
Very, very different. Yeah. When I say myself, right, it's that I got I don't want to elaborate on this, the whole Me Too movement when it happened, right? I was also a part of that in a way where I have been subjected to something like that. And there was no way in hell I would have spoken about it at that time. Today, 100%. Because I've seen girls do that and it's given me the courage. So I think it's so important that we speak about it. You do what you do. So just kudos to you. Amazing.
And this stupid narrative that, good girls are not opinionated, good girls don't speak out of line, good girls, don't get involved in these things. We should just keep. It's a narrative that men have put on us.
Gaslit us. That's what I say. Gaslight. So
don't fall for it.
Yeah, don't fall for that dirty trap, guys. Yeah.
Because when a woman is successful, right, it really benefits all of us.
Exactly.
If she also thinks about other women, and if she doesn't, it's okay.
Yeah.
But it's very important.
Yeah, but naturally as women, we are empathetic and compassionate. So,
We're more peaceful.
Yeah. I love us. Yeah. You are an actor, politician, producer, good at so many things. Is there something you're terrible at?
No, I don't think.
I love that answer.
No. I'm saying I don't think I'm good at anything.
I don't think I'm terrible at anything.
No. What are things that I can't do? I can't ski. I can't dive.
Okay.
I'm scared of water.
Okay.
There's so many things. I can't cook. I mean, I love cooking. I'm sure I'll be a great cook, but I don't know why. I can't sing to save my life.
Okay.
I'm not a good dancer, which you also know. Every time we had a dance sequence on sets, nobody would come close to me because I'm just blasting everyone because I am not able to dance.
Okay.
I'll find some problem or the other with somebody. So I think some choreographers would just give up on me. Like, madam, walk ಮಾಡಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಸಾಕು.
Yeah, just look beautiful.
Just do that. Don't do any steps.
Okay.
So there's so many things I can't do. But I remember like getting these notes, from school. They send it to your parents. They write remarks, right?
Remarks,
They'll
yeah.
all say Divya has leadership qualities. Oh, you went to the same school,
Yeah.
right? Leadership qualities. I'm like, what is this leadership
Leadership,
qualities? But my leadership qualities are very different. I don't impose. I don't force. I think that I should stand for what I believe in, and then people kind of like take that from you.
Right,
That's
right.
the kind of, I don't believe in forceful. Yeah.
That's beautiful. What does your downtime look like?
Ooh, my dogs.
Okay.
And then food.
Okay.
I'm an emotional eater, so
Okay.
I'm happy, I'm sad. Basically, I just love food.
Same.
You?
See, that's
Please.
the thing. No, speak to Vishal. Like I'm married to a family who eats like little birds. Okay,
No.
I'm eating like my plate's full like a construction worker who's just like gone and done some heavy duty
Labor.
work. Yeah, I work out. I work out, and when they say it's your genes, I'm like, no, I
No.
put in a lot of effort, but I love my food.
Yeah.
Joy, it's food. Sadness, it's food. Yeah.
And movies.
Movies.
Yeah. And just staying in bed and doing nothing. I can write a book on doing nothing. I am so good at doing nothing.
The joy of doing nothing.
Opposite of you.
Yeah.
You were like, I can't sit quiet, and I can be like that for a year.
That's amazing. It's that Vipassana that's done
You
that to you.
think
That's
so?
yeah. Like when you want to do, you'll do. If you want to chill, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Vishal says, you have no chill. You know?
Yeah?
Yeah, he's like, you have no chill.
He's chill, no?
very.
Yeah.
So he's like good for me and I'm good for him because he can chill. And I'm like, yo, what are we doing? And he throws my phone and he's like, relax. Because I'm also a co-founder of this hot yoga studio, and then I have a bubble tea company and I have this podcast. So it's just like constant. I love it. Like this
Good
is
for you,
yeah,
Shubhra.
yeah. I like that phase in my life, but like it can get so much where you can also burn out, right? So
Yeah.
Vishal's like, chill.
Yeah.
Yeah, that chill's important.
Because I'm a do nothing kind of a person, if you give me a task, I will not stop till it's done.
Ah.
Which is why I burn out very quickly.
Right.
And I want to do everything myself.
You're like that, okay,
Yeah.
control freak, perfectionist.
Yeah, like I want to do this and I will do it because I have an idea of how I want to do it, and not everyone's aligned, right?
Right.
So I want to, until it's done, I will not stop. You can't, right? You need to take a
Right.
break, you need to be more balanced,
Yeah,
like how
yeah,
you're doing
yeah,
it.
okay.
I can never do it.
Okay.
I'm hopeless. So see, add it to the list of other things that I cannot do.
Yeah, okay, interesting. What's like the most misunderstood thing about you?
Oh, I think, what is the most misunderstood thing about me? I don't know.
I'm trying to think.
That I'm arrogant, maybe, and like you said, intimidating or whatever.
you're
I'm not.
Yeah, some people like say that,
Yeah.
but like
That's just my defense mechanism. I'm
Exactly.
just like to myself.
you're also guarded about your emotions and stuff.
Yeah.
Like with people like that, you
Yeah.
just like mistake it for
I guess.
arrogance or
Yeah.
yeah.
But I'm not.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. You're a cool girl. Like you're far from all of that.
Yeah.
Is there like a moment in your life that you'd like to change, looking back or now?
I mean, despite the fact that I'm very grateful for where life has brought me today, I think if I had my father today with me, it would be like, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. You're a producer with Apple Box, and you're like now behind the camera, right? What gives you an ick like from time to time, and how would you like implement that change?
Like, what do you mean?
Being a producer.
Yeah.
What's that thing that like irritates you? Like being
that
a producer.
not enough roles are being written for women. I think that's what irritates me the most. They're not strong roles. We're still showing women as weak,
Yeah.
and I don't resonate with that because women are not weak,
Correct,
right?
yeah.
And we don't realize that cinema has such a huge impact on the audience, right? So
Why
you have
are
a
we-
powerful medium to change how women are perceived.
Yeah.
So if you want to reduce or do away with violence against women or these abuses, one way is to show through a powerful medium that women are strong and they need to be respected or whatever. but unfortunately we're not using a powerful medium like cinema to show that, which is why in fact we show the opposite in films, how they're being eve teased, or even the lyrics that we write about them, or that a woman doesn't have a life after, and it's the end of her life. Even the way women in cinema are treated, like actresses, you're married, you're no more attractive, you're no more appealing, or you have children, like forget it,
it's over.
So those things is something that still irritates me, and which is what I want to change.
Yeah, that's why when you came into the business, I remember reading about it and I was like so excited. I was like, now that's good representation, because you will change that narrative a little bit.
Which is what we try to do with Swati Muttina Malehani, right?
Lovely, yeah.
Like, you look back at life when you're 60 and you ask yourself, what did you do? It could be one or two small things that you did, but did it impact someone?
Yeah.
Did it help someone?
Yeah.
That is important.
Right. Yeah.
How long will your fame or your money or whatever take you? You have to do something, give back.
Give back.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're in a place of power, you have to. I just feel like it's important.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the name, Apple Box.
Yeah.
Like,
nobody knew what you would have never used it.
No, because everyone's used it, right, with me. So I was like, Apple Box is a part of my life. I know that name so well.
These young people, they were like, what is Apple Box? I'm like, you don't know Apple Box? Yeah. It carried me through my entire film journey.
Yeah.
Because I'm short.
Right.
Your co-stars must have been shorter than you.
The first film with Shivraj Kumar sir, he said, Beda, like, I don't need it. Why not Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman? I loved it. I was like, yeah.
Nice.
But not, like, poor thing, not everyone feels like that.
Yeah.
So there's been an Apple Box in my life. Every film I've done, there's been an Apple Box. Yeah.
See, you get it. I
got
get
it. Yeah. Because that's such an important thing, right?
And it's the most inconspicuous thing and inconsequential. It's like a simple piece of, wooden stool.
Right.
But still yet has such an impact.
Yeah.
And has such
elevates.
a great... Yeah. Which is why I chose.
I love it. I love it. Yes, nice. Okay, I don't like the word comeback, and especially with you, no way, because I keep saying this, and I'm not saying this because I'm a people pleaser. I keep saying this because you are one of the most relevant actors. Like, to have this kind of longevity is not easy. Like, the craze that you still... like that you have, and I think you'll always have that, is just amazing. But if you were to do a film today, right, and if you were to choose, what would you do differently than what you were doing then? One, I know you said the choice of film, right? But is there something else that you would do differently?
Like a role that I've never played before, of course, and something that will enthuse me and excite me. If there was I think if I need to... Being in front of the camera is my happy place, okay? That's the place that I feel I am my true self, right? I love being in front of the camera. So I think if I want to be in front of the camera, it has to be a role that really excites me and something I really feel.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. What would you tell a 21-year-old Ramya who's going to the film set for the first time? What would you tell her today?
I would probably tell her that... a 21-year-old me, so much. There's so much that I want to tell her, I think I would just tell her, don't be scared. I think everything is just going to work out and everything's going to be fine. I think I would tell her that.
You tell her that.
Yeah.
I think if I have to tell, because I started modeling when I was 17, if I have to tell a 17-year-old me, I've not thought about this, but I think I would be like, it's like everything is transient in life, right? Like, I feel like rejections at that point affected me so much, and then today it won't. Maybe like even 7 years ago it didn't, but like when it started, like rejections affected me so much. I just feel like, it's going to, that's how it is. The ebb and flow of life is such. Don't take that so seriously, I think.
So sweet. I think it's important to actually have that, right? Because we've not healed that part of, some people have, but most of us subconsciously carry still that rejection and, in adulthood and, but it's important that you ask these questions and you go back and you sort of have that conversation. It's so important. Because she's still there somewhere,
Of course, she's still there. Yeah, for me, the reason I started this podcast was for this, because I keep saying, like, I didn't go to regular school. At 17, I went to New York, and then I stopped studying.
You were by yourself.
I was by myself,
Amazing.
yeah. And I won fourth supermodel, right? And then that's when I went there. And everything I've learned has been through experiences, books, and movies. So I'm like, podcasts have played such a big role in my life. I was like, I want to have these authentic conversations, and like, I'll keep learning, right? Like, I'll keep learning, and I'll like experience a side of me that maybe like I didn't know. And hopefully, if like someone watches this and they're inspired by this, why not?
I love it. I wish I came earlier.
Oh, yeah, I love that feeling.
Because I like the intent behind it. You know, it's just not for views or for like some social media this thing, but you're doing it because you want to learn, and that's just who you've been throughout. You're finding new ways to learn and meeting people and listening to them. And
it gives me like a joy, high and kick.
And you made me share so much.
And you've been so like open about it. I love it. Yeah, thank you.
But,
I have like a little rapid fire. Cool. Okay, let's like it's a fun, spontaneous one. One mantra you live by?
I think just surrender.
Go with the flow?
Yeah.
I think you really lived that to the T. I can say that. What does success mean to you today?
I think it's very subjective. I think if you can learn to be empathetic and use your success to help other people, I think that to me would be success. And I see it as that.
That's so
Is that
powerful.
Your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. What's like this conspiracy theory about you that you secretly find very funny?
I find it very funny because I've been married I don't know how many times, how many secret children I have, in how many countries. I don't know.
So exciting.
It's so
irritating. So irritating, but exciting also.
Because it shows you how society thinks. If you're over a certain age, madhve ಆಗಿರ್ಬೇಕು ಮಕ್ಕಳಾಗಿರ್ಬೇಕು. Because I went to London for a year, they're like, it was been 9 months, so maybe she's going to deliver a baby. Look at these.
I wish it was that exciting, right? Sometimes when people say smack about me, I'm like, I wish it was all of that, right? Like it's not, but okay, that's interesting. Which actress would, if tomorrow someone's making your biopic, which actress do you think should play it?
My biopic, I think we'll have to wait because I'm still 40s. So
no, that's what I'm saying. Whenever that is.
Let's see how life is at 60 enough. And then we can decide.
Fair. If you could introduce a new subject in school, what would that be?
I think I don't know, do kids meditate today? Is there like spirituality, like some philosophy? I don't know.
There's not like a full-fledged subject that's dedicated. Like I would also do yoga and meditation because it's so important, right? Is there like maybe in your like
because
some
everything
schools,
is external, right? We need certain things that take you inward. Sort of, I think this would be
that was exactly my
because I'm like all these things that I learned as an adult, I wish I knew as a kid. Maybe I would have led my life differently. But I guess that's life.
That's just life. What's that one tweet you wish you never posted or secretly loved the chaos it created?
Okay, the tweet that I love that the chaos, I can't tell you now.
Okay, fair. Later. Yes.
But I think there's not one. I think there maybe that no, actually I don't think I regret anything because I've learned a lot from those. But the one that I'm secretly happy about, I can't obviously say it.
Later. Later. Okay, fair. What is the hope and wish you have for the year 2025?
That I'm conflicted between wanting to do something and actually not doing anything. So I don't know. Maybe, let's see. Like I said, I've never planned anything in my life. So I don't have these things planned. Like I want to do this year and whatever. I'm a very go with the flow kind of a person. So whatever comes along.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Ramya, thank you. This has been like so special. Like I knew that this is going to be a very interesting podcast because I started by saying I'm going to get to know you better. But You're such a cool girl. You're like the definition of cool and real and all things like amazing.
Thank
I really appreciate your time. Thank you. I'm going to say this on record. I want to hang out with you.
Yeah,
like
we
should
should.
hang
We
out, you
should.
know? Like I just
We
feel like it'd
should.
be amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this. It really means a lot to me, my team, for you to like give this time to us.
Thank you for having me, and I think you're amazing. I think your journey too, and the way you live your life on your own terms as well. So I don't think we're very different from each other.
Sweet.
I enjoyed being here, and
you.
I look forward to seeing more of what you're going to do in life.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Yay!
Thank you. Did you guys like it? Nice.
Okay, they've never given this unanimous applause. This is the first time. I love
I
it.
could see in the direction where she was sitting. I was like, oh, she's comfortable.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I think it's something I learned from Mr. Bachchan, because he was obviously a superstar when we did Amritadhari, right? And I was a bag of nerves. Like I was so nervous. And he kind of recognized that, which is what makes him who he is,
Yeah.
right? So he just sat me down and he's like, I know palmistry and stuff like that. So he took my hand and he's like, there are 3 things about you. He's like, 1 is you're misunderstood. I'm like, yeah. And then he's like, you have stomach problems. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, the 3rd is you're extremely emotional. I'm like, yeah, but how did you know this? And he's like, this is a trick he used to use in college
Okay.
to get close to girls.
Okay.
But he used the trick here with me to
Just
kind of ease me.
To calm you down.
So when I come, I'm very much aware that, people around me can be.
Yeah.
So I try and,
Oh, how
which is why I was
sweet.
like, listen, I'm chill. and-
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
But if we didn't have people like that do that to us, and
Yeah,
if we were raised in a
exactly.
different environment, I don't think we'd
Yes.
be able to,
To carry that forward,
we pass
right?
on
Yeah.
what we've
Of course,
experienced.
That's why it's so important to talk about these things, share
Yeah.
these experiences. Like
Yeah.
it's so important.
Yeah. So thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Hey people, so if you've enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, share, subscribe to my channel, Flip the Script with Shubhra. We'll be back with more such cool stories and some amazing guests.